Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India takes serious note of incidents of violence against Hindus and minorities in Bangladesh. Issue of persecution of minorities in Bangladesh echoes in the UK Parliament as well. Kremlin asks Syrian government to restore constitutional order in Aleppo region as soon as possible after insurgent offensive captured territory for the first time in years. Voting underway in Ireland's general elections, Prime Minister Simon Harris ruling Fine Gael seeks unprecedented fourth successive term in office. In a written reply in lower house of Indian Parliament, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said government has taken serious note of incidents of violence against Hindus in Bangladesh and shared its concerns with government of Bangladesh. He said that Indian government had expressed serious concerns regarding the attacks on a puja mandap in Dhaka and theft at Josheshwari Kali temple in Satkhira during Durga Puja this year. The High Commission of India in Dhaka continues to monitor the situation closely. The primary responsibility for the protection of life and liberty of all citizens of Bangladesh, including minorities, rests with the government of Bangladesh, the minister added. India has expressed concern over attacks on Hindus and minorities in Bangladesh. Spokesperson of the MEA, Randhir Jaiswal, said India has consistently raised the issue of threats targeting minorities, particularly Hindus, with the Bangladesh's interim government and asked Bangladesh to fulfill its responsibilities.
India has consistently and strongly raised with the Bangladesh government the threats and targeted attacks on Hindus and other minorities. Our position on the matter is very clear. The interim government must live up to its responsibility of protecting all minorities. We are concerned at the surge of extremist rhetoric, increasing incidents of violence and provocation. These developments cannot be dismissed only as media exaggerations. We once again call upon Bangladesh to take all steps for the protection of minorities.
The MEA spokesperson also clarified India's stance on the arrest of Chinmay Krishnadas and ISKCON, stating that ISKCON is a globally respected organization with a strong record of social service.
We see ISKCON as a globally well-regarded organization with a strong record of social service. As far as the question of the arrest of Sri Chinmay Das is concerned, we had made a statement on that, and it is our expectation that cases against individuals, as far as they are concerned, these legal processes are underway, and we hope and we expect that these processes will be dealt in a fair, just and transparent manner.
The Environment, Forest, Climate Change Advisor of Bangladesh's interim government, Sayyeda Rizwana Hassan, has said no discussion was held to ban ISKCON in the country. She added that government is not mixing the offences of organizations with the offences of individuals. Earlier on Thursday, Bangladesh High Court refused to intervene in the ISKCON-related violence issues after being informed that the authorities concerned have taken necessary measures in this regard. It expressed satisfaction with the government's response and instructed it to continue efforts to safeguard citizens' lives and property. Later on Thursday, ISKCON Bangladesh's General Secretary said Chinmay Krishnadas does not belong to them as he was expelled by the organization. He added that the organization would not shoulder any responsibility over his statements and speech. Earlier this week, Chinmoy Prabhu was arrested by Dhaka police on Monday on charges of sedition in Bangladesh. Bangladesh Financial Intelligence Unit has also ordered freezing of bank accounts of 17 individuals linked to ISKCON Bangladesh. The directive sent to banks and financial institutions suspend all transactions for these accounts for a period of 30 days. Meanwhile, UK Member of Parliament Bob Blackman has condemned the attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. Addressing the British Parliament on Thursday, Blackman showed his concern by attempt of High Court in Bangladesh to ban ISKCON from the country. He said Hindus in Bangladesh are now subject to deaths, with their spiritual leader being arrested and their houses being burnt.
Right now, Mr. Speaker, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, who run Bhaktivinoda Manor in Elstree, the largest Hindu temple in this country, in Bangladesh, their spiritual leader is under arrest. Hindus across Bangladesh are being subject literally to death by their houses being burnt, their temples are being burnt, and there was an attempt today in the Bangladesh High Court to rule that ISKCON should be banned from the country. This is a direct attack on Hindus. Now, this is a threat from India now to take action. We have a responsibility because we enable Bangladesh to be free and independent. Now, whatever the change of government has been in Bangladesh, it cannot be acceptable that religious minorities are persecuted in this way.
India's Revenue Secretary Sanjay Malhotra spoke at the valedictory session of World Bank Global AEO Conference, India AEO Dialogue on Friday. The Revenue Secretary said India is ready to partner with major economies to facilitate faster clearance and smoother trade operations. Currently, 37% of India's bill of entry is through the AEO program. The AEO program is a part of the SAFE framework of the World Customs Organization, certifies businesses that meet stringent compliance and security standards. The Global Authorized Economic Operator Conference, titled AEO Dialogue, Enhancing Global Trade Partnership, kicked off in New Delhi on Thursday.
Let me assure you from my side, from the Indian government side, that the system that we have built in is very robust, and it will help both you and us in being able to filter out, those non-risky traders, and therefore then focus and concentrate on those ones where our energies and efforts should actually devolve. And so we have initiated dialogue with about 41 countries. We have, I think, a joint action plan with 11 of these. 30 are in other stages of, different stages of dialogue and negotiations. So these 18 countries and jurisdictions that are present over here today and others, I would request that we quickly build systems, robust systems, and engage and have an agreement with each other.
Australian film director Philip Noyce was the recipient of this year's Satyajit Ray Lifetime Achievement Award at the 55th International Film Festival of India, IFFI, in Goa. In an exclusive conversation with DD India correspondent Deepika Mato, Noyce talks about his admiration for Indian filmmaker Satyajit Ray. He also shares his concerns regarding budget constraints in film production, reach of Indian cinema, and more.
We have with us Mr. Philip Noyce from Australia. Sir, thank you so much for joining us in this exclusive broadcast, and many, many congratulations to you for this prestigious award.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So when we talk about, first of all, the award and your experience here in India, what do you have to say about it? Because you've been sharing a lot of stories about Satyajit Ray and what kind of inspiration you drew from the legend.
We in Australia were very influenced by his films, particularly the Apu trilogy. Even though it was made before I was an adult, I was still a boy when in the 50s when he made the Pather Panchali. But you know, he was legendary in Australia because we grew up on big American films, extravaganzas, and Satyajit Ray taught us to look for the heart, to make stories from the heart, to be small in scope, but big in heart. We in Australia saw Ray's films and said, okay, this is how we can make films. This is how we can make the smaller budget films. So, we dreamed of making feature films.
Budget has been one important aspect, not only for Indian cinema, but for global cinema. What is your take on that?
At the moment, the film industry all over the world is in a little bit of chaos, particularly in America, but I suspect in every country. There's been a lot of discussion about technology and the evils of AI and how AI is going to rob writers and rob actors. As a director, I would say, thank goodness for AI, because that's the way in which we can also, make big films for small budgets by using technology.
What's your take about the production, the kind of transformation that India has witnessed, which is now being seen in the world at different film festivals?
Well, the revolution that's taken place in film distribution has aided all countries outside America, because now we can see so many Indian films on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and so on. So before we were starved, we had to go to film festivals to see Indian films, and now we can turn on our TVs and we have a huge selection, and that's a good thing, a great thing.
How do you feel on receiving this award from India in India?
Well, it's embarrassing in a way, because compared to what he did, I think that I'm a pretender. This was a man whose films I greatly admired, who inspired me, who inspired my generation of film directors in Australia. Receiving this award named after that great filmmaker, it's humbling.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for joining us for this exclusive conversation, and many congratulations to you once again for the prestigious award.
Thank you.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news today. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman reached Patna on Friday for a two-day visit to Bihar. During this visit, she will distribute loans worth 1,300 crore rupees among the youths of the state. The great-grandson of tribal icon Bhagwan Birsa Munda, Mangal Munda, passed away on Thursday night in Ranchi after sustaining injuries in a road accident. Union Law Minister of India, Arjun Ram Meghwal, provided an update on judicial vacancies in response to a query in Parliament on Friday. He stated that there are currently 2 vacancies in the Supreme Court, 364 in High Courts, and 5,245 in district courts. The air quality in the national capital remains in the very poor category, as the AQI was recorded at 332 as per the Central Pollution Control Board on Friday. The deep depression over southwest Bay of Bengal intensified into cyclonic storm Fengal, pronounced as at the time 2:30 p.m. local time, bringing more rains near Chennai's Nagapattinam in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. It is likely to move west-northwestwards and cross North Tamil Nadu, Puducherry coast between Karaikal and Mahabalipuram. It's close to Puducherry is cyclonic storm with a wind speed of 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, gusting to 90 kilometers per hour during Saturday afternoon. Flooding in northern Malaysia and southern Thailand has killed at least 8 people and forced tens and thousands from their homes. More than 80,000 people were evacuated to temporary shelters in Malaysia this week, with 4 deaths recorded across the northern states. More than 240,000 households in southern Thailand have been affected by flooding, with 4 deaths reported. The weather offices of both countries have forecast heavy rains until Saturday. Thousands of emergency services personnel have been deployed in flood-prone states, along with rescue boats. Taiwan on Friday reported an increase in Chinese military activity around the island, detecting over 41 PLA aircraft and vessels around the island. In response, Taiwan stepped up security along its maritime borders. Taiwan's armed forces conducted comprehensive air defense drill on Thursday as China reportedly prepares for its third large-scale military exercise, Joint Sword, near Taiwan. The drill, which involved air, naval and missile defense units, was conducted to strengthen readiness against potential aerial and missile threats. The Air Force Command stated that the exercise took place from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., deploying fighter jets, naval vessels, air defense missile systems, aircraft such as indigenous defense fighter, Mirage 2000, F-16, C-130 transport planes were utilized, along with ground-based air defense missile units. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Excitement and relief in Paris as Notre Dame Cathedral prepares to reopen. Sony's PlayStation celebrates 30 years of gaming innovation.
In this special episode, we are looking at the Indian diaspora and its significant contributions to the growth and the visibility of India on the world stage.
India is, drastically progressing.
Many occasions like COVID and economical crisis and political crisis time and all, India was standing with Sri Lanka.
They migrated to Mauritius to search of gold. Okay, it's being said that. But what happened today is that because of them, because of their resilience, their hard work, they have transformed our country.
I always consider Trinidad and Tobago to be my motherland, but I would refer to India as our grandmotherland.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Voting got underway in Ireland on Friday in a general election in which two centre-right coalition partners are neck and neck with opposition party Sinn Féin after a campaign marked by rancor over housing and cost of living crisis. Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris on Friday voted in the country's general elections in his constituency Greystones, County Wicklow, the scenic seaside commuter town south of Dublin. Polls opened in Ireland at 7 GMT will close at 2200 hours GMT as voters choose new members of the 174-seat lower chamber of the Parliament. The Dáil counting will start Saturday morning with partial results expected throughout the day. Iranian and European diplomats met on Friday to discuss Iran's nuclear program, first such engagement since Donald Trump's victory in the US elections. The meeting in Geneva also come after Tehran was irked by a European-backed resolution last week that criticized Iran's cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog. Iran has told the watchdog that it plans to ramp up uranium enrichment. During his last term, Trump pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear deal. France, Germany and UK are still party to the pact, which ends in October next year. Ukraine on Friday struck the Atlas oil depot in Russia's Rostov region overnight, causing a major fire. Atlas is part of the Russian military-industrial complex that supplies petroleum products to the Russian army. Ukraine also struck a radar station for Russian Buk air defense system in Ukraine's southern Zaporizhzhia region. In retaliation, Russia launched more than 100 drones at Ukraine overnight early on Friday, killing a person and injuring 8 others. The military has also seized the village of Rostolin in southern part of Ukraine's Donbas region. Russian and Syrian warplanes bombed rebel-held northwest Syria near the border with Turkey to push back an insurgent offensive that captured territory for the first time in years. 4 civilians, including 2 students, were killed on Friday in the Syrian city of Aleppo in insurgent shelling of university student dormitories. A UK-based monitoring group said more than 250 combatants on both sides had been killed in the fighting. Meanwhile, Kremlin said on Friday it wanted the Syrian government to restore constitutional order in Aleppo region as soon as possible after an insurgent offensive there captured territory for the first time in years. Rebels led by Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham launched an incursion on Wednesday into dozens of towns and villages in northwestern province of Aleppo, which is controlled by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's forces. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Moscow regarded the attack as a violation of Syria's sovereignty and wanted the authorities to act fast to regain control. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belorusov said on Friday that cooperation agreement signed by the leaders of Russia and North Korea is intended to play a stabilizing role in Northeast Asia and reduce the risk of a recurrence of war on the peninsula. Belorusov stated that the most important result of the summit was the signing of new fundamental interstate document, the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty, that is intended to play a stabilizing role in the region, make a positive contribution to maintaining balance of power and reduce the risk of recurrence of war on the peninsula. Belorusov arrived in Democratic People's Republic of Korea on an official visit on Friday to hold meetings with military and military political leadership of DPRK. This comes after Western countries accuse Pyongyang of sending more than 10,000 soldiers to help Russia fight Ukraine. British lawmakers began debating on Friday ahead of the vote on the Terminally Ill Adults Bill, also known as End of Life Bill. They are discussing whether to support assisted dying. If Parliament were to back the bill and see it through the full legislative process, Britain would join other countries such as Australia, Canada and some US states in launching what would be one of the biggest social reforms in a generation. The bill would allow mentally competent, terminally ill adults in England and Wales with 6 months or less left to live the right to choose to end their lives with medical assistance.
And I want to pay a huge and heartfelt tribute to those families and to every single person who has contacted me about this issue and in many cases shared their own very personal stories of loss and death. I know from my own personal experience of grief that telling your story over and over again takes energy, courage and strength. And I'm incredibly grateful to you all. It is your voices and your stories which have inspired me.
She references coercion, and I understand the point that she makes about the two medics. But the medics won't be able to see or have heard anything and everything at all times. People will not be put beyond challenge because subsequent to the death, if a relative claims coercion of another relative, investigation will remain. I'm just entirely unclear how, without peradventure, two clinicians can claim that there has been no coercion at any point.
Electronic giant Sony is preparing to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the iconic PlayStation, the console that revolutionized gaming industry and elevated the company to a dominant force in the market. First released in Japan on December 3rd, 1994, PlayStation marked Sony's first venture into video games. It quickly surpassed expectations, becoming a legendary success by selling over 102 million units. PlayStation also played a pivotal role in launching some of the most beloved franchises in gaming, solidifying Sony's position as a major player in the lucrative gaming sector. Some news from across the world now. A crane collapsed at a construction site outside Thailand's capital on Friday, killing 3 workers and injuring 10 others. The crane building, a flyover, collapsed in Samut Sakon, west of Bangkok. French President Emmanuel Macron arrived at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris on Friday for his last visit to the fire-ravaged landmark. It underwent over 5 years of reconstruction work before it will reopen to the public from December 7th.
Ils ont commencé à la bâtir dès ce jour-là, dès cette minute. Et puis il y a eu cet immense élan de solidarité qui a traversé le monde entier, à travers 150 pays. 340 000 mécènes et donateurs. 340 000, plusieurs sont ici présents, en particulier en entreprise, et je veux vous en remercier avec beaucoup de chaleur. Et c'est votre générosité qui a permis, en effet...
Macron's statement there at the iconic cathedral. Some sports news now. The Women's Premier League WPL auction for the upcoming season is set to be held on December 15th in Bengaluru. Each of the 5 participating franchises will have a budget of about 15 crore rupees compared to 13.5 crores last year. Top international stars including England captain Heather Knight, New Zealand fast bowler Lee Tahuhu, West Indies all-rounder Doordarshan are set to appear for bidding in the mini-auction, while prominent Indian faces Sneh Rana, Poonam Yadav and Veda Krishnamurthy will be up for grabs on December 15th. Delhi Capitals will enter the auction with the smallest purse of about 2.5 crore rupees. On the other hand, Gujarat Giants will have the biggest purse with 4.4 crore rupees. Manchester United marked their Old Trafford debut under the new manager Ruben Amorim with 3-2 win against Norway's Bodo Glimt. In the Europa League, United struck early through Alessandro Garnacho, capitalizing on defensive blunder by goalkeeper Nikita Häkkinen. However, Bodo Glimt responded swiftly, scoring twice within 4 minutes to take a surprising lead. Rasmus equalized with a brilliant finish just before half-time. 5 minutes into the second half, Holland sealed the victory by converting Manuel Ugarte's cross. With their second win in Europe this season, Manchester United moved to 12th spot in the league phase standings. And roses in full bloom in Australia, in the country's island state, nestled within the walls of a Tasmanian UNESCO World Heritage listed property, has the state's largest rose collection. The sprawling 1.5 hectare garden at Woolmer's Estate at Longford in northern Tasmania is largely maintained by about a dozen volunteers. What a delight for the visitors. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, download Waves today. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.
In this special episode, we are looking at the Indian diaspora and its significant contributions to the growth and the visibility of India on the world stage.
India is, drastically progressing.
Many occasions like COVID and economical crisis and political crisis time and all, India was standing with Sri Lanka.
They migrated to Mauritius to search of gold. Okay, it's being said that. But what happened today is that because of them, because of their resilience, their hard work, they have transformed our country.
I always consider Trinidad and Tobago to be my motherland, but I would refer to India as our grandmotherland.